Today's scripture reading is from Gospel Matthew chapter 5, verse 4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. It has been very difficult to hear about countless deaths in North American cities in the past few months. We're now numb to reports of deaths. Our minds avoid handling these tidings of deaths. We now process the enormity of these numbers by hearing them without meaning. Yet we do know that with each death there are unaccountable numbers of people who suffer and mourn. It is impossible for most of us to deal with so many deaths so personally. Few decades ago, all mournings were private. We did not bring our tears in public. People held their tears and did not exhibit their grieving hearts. Even the most famous funeral of John F. Kennedy was an affair without displays of tears. Things were very different way back until the 1990s. The event that brought us the major change was the death of Princess Diana. Mourning rituals became very public, especially for public figures or deaths of many individuals through senseless acts of human evil or natural disasters. Vigils were organized, public memorials were held, and everyone shared tears. Public mourning rituals were often quiet gatherings with or without candlelights. Outpouring of emotions and tears became naturalized in them. Since the start of COVID-19 infections, however, things have changed even more. As hospitals took precautions, keeping even the immediate family members of dying patients out, funeral directors were limited from providing services to bare essentials only, and governments were prohibiting and later limiting numbers of people gathering for funerals. Mourning or grieving became invisible again as everyone else went on with life trying to keep away from any gatherings of people. Suffering the pain of life lost of loved ones is tough at the best of times. To describe how each person had to suffer invisibly in the world where everyone is trying to fend for oneself is far more difficult. Since March, our world has been under the death's grip. We are reminded of its threat every time we inhale and exhale. We are constantly told of its power when newscasters report how many are infected and how many are dead because of it. At the same time, we are still under the strict rule of keeping away in attempts to protect each other. Though we can now do more in terms of loving and caring for each other, we are still limited in what we should and should not do. In the meantime, at least in Canada, we are relieved that people are not dying in a large number each day as it used to in earlier months. We are now busy with finding the safest way to reopen closed businesses, schools, and churches. Everyone wants to resume life. In the context of the world that attempts to resume everyday life for those who have lost their loved ones, what does it mean to live? Especially since they were not allowed to be with their dying mothers, fathers, children, friends, and neighbors. What does it mean to continue on in life for those who were not allowed to be near their loved ones because of the prohibition? Not only were they barred to be with dying ones, but also were not allowed to mourn like all others who lost their loved ones before COVID-19 hit. Some of them were not told of the death of their loved ones until after many days were gone by. How about families of all those who died at the hands of others? How about families and friends of all those who died because even without being infected by COVID-19, the bombs from powerful countries fell on their innocent people, or because criminals were shooting bullets into houses? What is not shared is how many people are there in the world to mourn so many people who die each day. Many communities of the world that used to mourn together the death of their heroes, victims of senseless violence, and victims of natural disasters, have gone quiet. In social distancing and no travel era, almost everyone who lost someone through death is left on their own to mourn silently.